Hey boys and girls, I'm Nick in the States, and today we're doing a little project update. You might remember this guy. You might remember the hatred, the love. You may have met me for the first time when I bought this lovely challenged guitar and did a video for it that got a huge amount of views. Now, the Gibson M2 had a couple of really key flaws, and in a couple of videos we're going to cover both of them and try and fix them up. The first flaw was really the bridge. And as you'll see in this guy, this now has been upgraded with a Tonepros locking tailpiece. So it's a wraparound tailpiece, same as before, has much longer saddle lengths. It's also a shallower bridge. If you look at the picture side by side, you can see that it's not as tall as the bridge that was on this to begin with. And that's great because that bridge, when it was all the way down, still the action was too high on many people's because of the string lean and kind of how it was built and kind of the junkiness of the whole thing. Sorry Gibson, it's the truth. So with this, I figured I could get things lower. The other benefit is the locking tailpiece kind of, the top, screw things down, holds it in place so you get even more sustain, which was the one thing actually this thing didn't have an issue with. The vibrations definitely got to the body and she definitely sustained quite well. So you can see here in ultra fast motion, me going through the whole process of pulling off the old bridge, taking the strings off, doing all that. Now the challenge I had was that the posts for the particular Tonepros bridges that I had were actually smaller. So I pulled out the existing posts here, really easy, just a little tug each way. As I was pulling them out, you realize, look, they had these things in when they painted it. This was not a guitar that had any special care made while built, they kind of rushed them out. The second thing is, the posts are actually put in at a slight angle, so that the posts themselves were contributing to the lean of the bridge because they weren't drilled perpendicular into the body. That's a bummer. That's kind of crappy, right? So I had to put these in. I put some, this bridge is not going to be permanent here. Had I done this permanently, I would have used some filler and some wood glue, which would have puffed up the wood in the area, and it would have held these things in place. Now, because of the nature of this build, I probably will not own this guitar forever. I didn't want to make it so that it would be a pain in the buttocks to put the original bridge back in. So I wedged some toothpicks in between the edge of that post and in the body to hold things in place and keep them from leaning and flopping around. And actually it worked pretty well. I'm not going to say it's going to do a 120-day US tour, but for the purpose of this video, and in all honesty, that's what we did. When it was all said and done, actually things were pretty good. And you'll see here, and I'll take some closer pictures, there's still definitely the lean, but now the action is right about where it should be. The action can go even lower than it is right here, but there were two compounding factors limiting that. The first of which being the slugs, the sleeves that insert into the body, that then the tailpiece screws into, are longer on these Tonepros than on the stock bridge here. Now I could drill down deeper to make them fit, but I'm worried with this thin body, I was worried about really messing things up. And this thing already has enough challenges in life. So I don't think it needs more, like having an extra hole or two going through the challenge finish that it has. So, in lieu of doing that, we just accepted the fact that it was still a little bit higher, but with a thinner bridge, we still were able to get the action down lower. The other compounding factor is the fact that the neck isn't entirely level. So I adjusted the truss rod, got things reasonably good with just the slightest amount of up bow to it, like you want. You don't want it dead flat. But right around here, especially on the bass side, you can see things just come up a little bit as it comes to this section, and it results in so a little bit of buzzing. This is about, it still buzzes more than I'd like, but it's at a good action that I don't want to set to there. So it's tolerable. I plugged it in, I played it. I won't bother to show you guys, yay, it sounds about the same. It sounds awful. I really don't like these pickups. Aside from like driven metal-y tones, they just are, it's just uninspiring. The rest of the guitar is reasonably nice to play. Reasonably nice to play. It's just cheap. But we're going to move on. We're going to carry on. We're going to persevere in our efforts to make this an interesting playable guitar. So, Took me a couple hours. These Tonepros versions of the locking tailpiece, I believe they're $85 a piece. So when you're looking at a $4 guitar, they're 85 bucks plus either you or somebody else you're going to have set things up to make things better. Now, a quick aside. Tonepros locking tailpiece. What actually happens here is that it's two pieces. This top section is actually a screw that unscrews and pops out, so that then you can pull the bridge off. So it has the rear little Allens that adjust things back and forth. Then you have the smaller Allens here that you can then adjust the individual saddles. So your intonation for this is actually really great, very flexible. Then this allows you to bolt this top to the peg, so therefore the vibrations that are here will go right into the body. Pretty darn awesome. Where this works awesome, excellent, perfect little thing to use it for, hint, you'll see a video coming up at some point, is in installations where you have a wraparound tailpiece like this and you want to put a Bigsby downstream from it. When you don't have the top that locks down, the only thing holding this thing in place is string tension, which pulls it this way, and then this kind of sets, the two end screws sets how far forward or back it goes. Without the string tension, this can kind of slide around because you only have downward tension with having a Bigsby here. Like on my 2014 Melody Maker, the yellow guitar. That with the Bigsby, the challenge was I was worried that this would slide around. In this type of fitment, because it screws down and locks to the post, once you have the intonation set, life is good. You don't have to worry about it. Happily, I have another one of these sets somewhere sitting around, right here. And that set will go on to my 2014 Melody Maker, so that it'll be nice and set in there with the Bigsby on it, and things won't go astray. We like that. So, all was not lost. We learned an increasing appreciation for the Tonepros system. The annoyance, a negative for the Tonepros system is, normally in a situation like this, to raise and lower this bridge, you would just screw these two screws. Raise it up, raise it down, screw it. Unfortunately with this, when you unscrew the screw, just the top comes off. There's actually a little grommet on the bottom, and that there's this little wrench, which is difficult. You have to slip underneath, you'll catch into the grooves, and you can turn, and that'll raise and lower the height. It's a bit maddening. It's not a lot of fun. And in fact, what I end up doing is instead take the tension off, I'll pop the heads off of this, and then I'll pull the bridge off and adjust the height and put it back on and go there. It's really annoying for fine-tuning things for weather or just adjustments as a guitar settles. That little thing is also not the toughest metal on the planet, and when I've gone in and I bent the one that was on here, either going down or coming up, and it just kind of flexed out due to my massive human strength. No, it's just a little delicate. So that's kind of the annoyance there. They're small annoyances though. We can deal with them, right? There you go. Tonepros locking bridge on a Gibson M2. It does get your height down to the point now where you're going to have to deal with the necky setup function of life, but it will make it not be so crappy. In our next installment of the Lipstick on a Pig series, what we're going to end up doing is popping out these Gibson ProBuckers pickups. And because of the quick connects underneath the pickguard, we're going to swap these with the Gibson Burstbuckers in my 2016 Les Paul Standard. And we'll see what they do in this guitar and see what it sounds like. And if I'm deep in my Wheaties, I will do the same thing and put these pickups into my 2016 Les Paul Standard, which I guarantee will probably be the first Gibson Les Paul Standard ever to have Gibson ProBuckers in it. So that should be interesting. Stay tuned. Anywho, I've been Nick in the States. This is the Gibson M2. We both have a lot of issues. Take care, folks.